This is your fellow passenger speaking, and in this video we're going to take a look at the Michigan Synthworks SY0.5. This is not a particularly new module, so why do we want to have a look at it? I think this is suffering from one of those, I don't know what this phenomenon is called, but when something is new, it gets posted, and there is obviously one aspect to it. If something is really good, you can compare it to an Instagram post. They have a shelf life. When they are immediately posted, people may latch onto them and they get a bit of momentum. But sometimes I also think they're really good things slipping under the radar just because no one picked up on it right when they were fresh off the press. Just a little bit of bad luck. And I'm wondering if this little module is suffering from exactly that. I think it's an extremely versatile module. It is a clone of an old drum machine made by Pearl called Syncussion, and I believe that Aphex Twin is one of the people who have been using that quite a bit. It is not a full replica in a sense that this is the 0.5, which sort of means that it's half a Syncussion. The Syncussion have two drum voices that can play at the same time, and this module replicates one of them. So if you buy two of these modules, I suppose you would have pretty much like a Syncussion. I think it sounds amazing. It's fully analog and there's lots of CV potential and lots of interesting sounds. Before I go any deeper into it, I'm just going to cut to, in DivKid style, what's to come. This will not be an in-depth tutorial exactly how this works. I think you should go and check out DivKid's video, which is he's doing a much better job than I would do in that regard. But I'm going to talk through a few things, and then obviously we're going to listen to some great sounds. I suggest that you also check out my Patreon page, and if you feel able to, part with a small amount of money every month to support my work and this channel. In return, I will give you loads of downloads. So in this video, I'm going to give you loads of samples made by this module. There will be loops, there will be loads of individual sounds, kick drums, effects, like anything that I managed to squeeze out of it. And there will be loads, I promise you. I don't know exactly how many there will be. Some of them I will make during this video, but I will also make a whole bunch of this video because otherwise this video would be too long and boring, I think. So we're just going to get right into it and have a little look at what this can do. And rather than me just talking, let's just make some sounds. I've got a trigger being sent out from the Variegate 8 Plus into the module, and it's got an output that goes to the Expert Sleepers ES9, which is basically an audio interface, just recording it into Ableton in this case. So let's have a little look at what this module does. It has a bunch of controls. So the sweep is basically a pitch envelope. So if I pull that up, let's make a long decay. It's going to be easier to hear. Now we've got a bit of a kick drum. And we can see this small potentiometer down here. What that is like how quick that decay is. So now it's very, very fast. Now you can hear it's a bit longer. And the slider is, I suppose, like an attenuator, how much of it is affecting the sound. Now it's just a tone pretty much. So now we've got a nice kick drum. The second one is tune, self-explanatory. You can tune it. And the decay, also self-explanatory, the length of the sound. The width is basically a filter that if you pull it all the way up, the filter is open. And I'm also wondering, I don't know for sure, but it also sounds like it's probably adding a little bit of resonance to it. And then we have an LFO that affects the tuning. And at the moment it's very fast, so I'll just turn that down a bit so we can hear. You can turn up the speed. And the slider is the attenuator, so you can choose how much the LFO is affecting the pitch. And you got two different waveforms. You got triangle and you got square wave for the LFO. There is also another thing in the middle. I've actually not read the manual, but that is it's a sort of a random sample and hold thing, which if I turn that on, I think it will add a bit of just randomness to the tuning. And then this slider, I should have mentioned this in the beginning. So the sweep here, which is the pitch envelope, you can see now it's in its low position. That means that it's pitching down. But if I have a longer sound, if I turn it up, it's going to pitch up instead. So you can choose which direction you want this to pitch in. You've got CV control over the decay time. You also got the pitch, that's the tuning, and then mode, which we're going to get to in a moment, and then the filter, which is basically the width parameter that you affected by that. Mode is, you can switch these, it's using different synthesis modes. I would suggest that you check out DivKid's video. He's explaining it much better than I will. I think it's got two oscillators in there, and there's also one of the synthesis modes has got a noise as well, I think. But it has all the sounds have slightly different flavor, and there's a little bit of frequency modulation going on in there. So you can have, I think the second one, we go to B again. I think that's got two oscillators affecting one another, but then you actually also got the LFO, where the LFO almost goes into audio rate, so you can get some quite interesting FME type sounds. I'm just going to jump through these a little bit just to hear a little bit of different flavor. And then I was thinking, that's pretty much it in a way what this module does, but I think the proof is in the pudding. So let's just start making some sounds. And I will probably just meander a bit here, and then I just cut in the best bits. But I will include loads of sounds for you to download if you decide to sponsor me on Patreon. So let's start with the first algorithm, the first one. And we're just going to turn off the LFO. Let's just make some really nice kick drums. And I think this sounds super nice. We can turn the decay down, so a bit harder kick drum. And then if we turn up the filter, we're going to get a little bit of that high end coming in, and it's going to be a bit more, what should we call it, like 909 like. And then if we turn the pitch decay down a bit, we have to turn the tune down again because it doesn't pitch. There's a strange relation here. So if I have the tune in the middle and I turn the sweep up, actually increasing the amount of pitch envelope it's pitching down, so the sound becomes lower. We just do have a long decay. But if I turn the sweep down, you're going to hear it feels like I'm turning the pitch up. I'm actually not turning the pitch up. It's just that the sound stops pitching down. So to compensate, we have to turn the tune down if we want to still maintain a sort of a kick drum territory. Now it's a bit more like a long 808 type thing. And then you can obviously add the LFO in just to add a bit of flavor to the do a square LFO instead. Okay, different flavors. Let's have a look and see if we can do some high pitch sounds as well for it. We're going to do some loops later as well, and I feel like the sound palette works really well for certain types of electro. Sometimes it just makes me think of, I don't know if you know the artist Conforce. He also goes under the name Silent Harbor, and I think he's also got some other aliases that I just can't remember right now. Right, let's move on to the next sound, the next algorithm. This one is using 2 oscillators, and it just creates a little bit of a FM metallic sound, which I think is quite nice. And then we can introduce even more FM with the really fast LFO. And the triangle wave and the square wave really creates different flavors. You can create some quite nice kick drums with this second algorithm as well. Let's turn the LFO off. And we can turn quite similar to the first one. It's still nice. Quite a muted kick. We turn the filter up a bit. Can get some quite nice bass sounds out of this as well. Let's try the next algorithm. You get 6 different algorithms that you can play with, which are labeled A to F, and now we're on C, and this has also got a nice metallic sound to it. Let's make a kick drum again with this one. Beautiful sounds. Do the next algorithm. We just go through this quite fast, but we just record lots of sounds. I would argue I have, just off camera, I have the Similis Ceteris Alter as well, but if I had to sell some modules, I would totally sell that one before this. I think this one sounds way more interesting and is really underrated. In this one, algorithm F feels quite different from the other ones. That's got quite a high pitch noise, and that could be good for things like hi-hats and stuff, I suppose. Forget to change that one. We can have things pitching up as well. Let's see what we can do with this module. Let's do a little test if we're using this as the only sound source, but we can add some effects in the modular rack and stuff and to see what happens. So let's get a kick drum to start with, and we just get a kick drum pattern. Okay, let's start making some loops here and just use the SY0.5 as the only sound source, and then we can plug it into effects and things and do a lot of modulations just to see what we can squeeze out of it. Now we've got this kick going, and let's add some other sounds in. So we can do, these modes can be modulated by sending either CV or gate into here. You can, I think now at the moment it's set to receive gates, but if you wanted to change to receive CV, you just press the two buttons at the same time, and then you just do the same to switch it back to gate mode, and depending on what you want to do, and it will cycle through the different modes, and depending on if you press up or down last, that will determine which direction it's cycling. So let's just squeeze some sounds out of this. So it's in gate mode now. So let's actually set that to CV mode. Let's see if we can send some CV into the mode. Okay, we already got a little something happening. Do the other CV out of the variegate 8 and send some CV into the pitch maybe. We need the moment, what we got going on here, we have controlling the CV of the mode, so you can see how that's changing, and we're also controlling the filter and the pitch. And at the moment there is no other effects involved, and then you can use these as attenuators just to change the flavor of the sound. What we got going on here is that we got some CV control over the pitch. We're changing the mode using CV and also the filter. There's currently no other effects involved, it's just this one module. And then you can use these sliders as attenuators to change the flavor of the sound. Change the flavor a bit more if we change some of that CV that we're sending out. Change the pattern a bit. I'm just going to plug this in off camera. I'm going to plug this into some other modules just to see how we can turn this into an interesting loop. This is still only the SY0 as the sound source. We have now plugged it into a bunch of different effects in the Eurorack, but it feels like you can probably play almost an entire set with just this module and loads of modulation and some effects. Want any of these samples, just sample them off the YouTube video. Now, you can also, if you feel like you can spare a few pounds, you can just grab loads of these loops that are cut up for you. Let's just try to plug in some other effects. Now got this going into the 4MS resonator, just creating this ambient textures in the background. So now I've changed sequencer. I'm using the Metropolis to make some melodic stuff out of this. So the Metropolis sequencer is sending a pitch in and a trigger in, very basic, just using it as an oscillator. Still got it going through some of the effects, but now it turns into some sort of bass sequence. I think we should say goodbye now, because I'm going to get lost for way too long in these. So thank you again for watching. I hope you found this useful. I think this module is definitely worth a closer look, and I would recommend checking out DivKid's video because he probably gives a slightly better description of how it works than I do. If you like what I do and want to see more content, please consider checking out my Patreon, and also I would love you to check out my Instagram if you can. I am currently doing this challenge where I'm trying to post 100 pieces of 1 minute's worth of music. I didn't say that very well. I'm trying to post something every day, 1 minute's worth of music on Instagram for 100 consecutive days. While I'm recording this video, I'm up to 56 or something like that, and so I'm just over halfway, but I would love your support, so if you could have a look, that would be amazing. Okay, so if you want some of these loops and loads of one-shots from this module, please consider sponsoring me on Patreon, and you will be able to download loads of sample libraries along with lots of other things from my previous videos. Thank you again for watching, and goodbye.